Stop right there, criminal scum! Nobody breaks the law on my watch! I'm confiscating your stolen goods. Now pay your fine!
Welcome to One Flew Over the SIDEQUEST, your place for philosophical gaming top fives and a little feud between an Irish lass and some British legend. With me, the host, Ryan, and Spyro Swoon, Total Loon, the funny honey, mocks herself, wants to be an elf, raw, uncut, the big bad Gingernut. Hello, Katie.
Hello.
How goes it? You're happy.
How's it going? Yeah. Although I feel like after listening to my title and say that I want to be an elf, I should be wearing elf ears instead of the cat ears. So.
Yes, yeah. Although elf ears would be awful strange at that point of the head. You know, elf ears would
Very
need to be down
strange,
here, and then therefore would be covered by the headphones and null and void. You know, that's
sorry to the listeners only, but I am wearing cat ear headphones now, which are very cool. So
yeah, they are super dope. Of course, if anybody is listening, you can check us out on youtube.com/Pixie Podcast or Pixie Gaming Podcast. If you type it in, you'll be able to find us. But there's been a little bit of a change. Me and Kayleigh have decided to change now our middle section. Rather than being like a philosophical gaming discussion just in general, like around a random subject, we're changing to top fives now. So today will be our first top five. So a quick rundown is that we will be doing our top fives gaming characters that we fell in love with. And then we will be doing an interesting game for Rise Randoms. But we should start, as we always do, with what's the story. So Kayleigh, please let us in. Tell us all about all the amazing gaming adventures you've been up to since last podcast, which is quite a few.
Quite a few. So I got an Xbox Series X. I can't remember if I talked about it in the last podcast, but it definitely wasn't set up by then. And now I have a TV, because that was a problem. I bought an Xbox and didn't buy a TV. But yeah, so I have my Xbox Series X. I have Game Pass. I have unlimited choices now, and it's absolutely brilliant. Obviously, I'm continuing on with the Witcher DLCs.
Yeah.
2. I'm doing Hearts of Stone, but I haven't really got that far into it. I got a bit sidetracked with the Xbox.
Yep.
And then I suppose on Xbox so far, I've been delving into the online game. So we've been playing a bit of Elder Scrolls Online.
Yep.
Which has been insane. So amazing. Played a tiny bit of Sea of Thieves.
Yep. Very tiny.
Yes. And one thing I want to say that really got me super duper excited, I was just scrolling through the Xbox store and I found Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah.
And I literally had a little freak out when I saw it. I had to buy it immediately and then booted it straight up. And I was like, oh, this is amazing.
What is it like going back to that though? You know, after all these years, all this time, going back to it, is it like you were saying to me about Spyro the other day, like how did I play these games when I was young or whatever?
Yeah, I don't know how I beat this game as a child, because I literally was just infuriated. I like, it's so funny. I started the game and I was like, I'm so excited I get to play this game again. And like there's certain levels I had learned off by heart, because you have ranking systems by how quickly and how efficiently you cleared the levels and stuff. And there were certain levels I got an A rank for. Because I learned, literally you have to learn the levels off by heart. And there were some of them I remembered and I could still get A's on. I was like, so good, so good. But then there were some levels I was just like, I don't know how I beat this as a child. Like, I don't know how that was possible. And honestly, I think I was child prodigal or genius or something. And then all of a sudden my brain cells all died as I got older. I was so infuriated playing it, to the point that I actually had to rage quit. I turned it off and I was just like, oh my God, this is one of my favorite games of all time, but it's really angering me. But
it's been nice to go back to. Yeah.
Super amazing. Like, it's so great. I'm clearing through it quite fast. I shouldn't really be playing it because we have a massive backlog of games to get through, but I just thought, I was like, I have to do this. One thing I will mention about this game that if anyone has ever played Sonic Adventure 2, they will resonate with me with, is that if you know Sonic, there's these little cute blob things called chows, and you can have it. There's a thing called the chow garden, and you get to raise these little baby blobs, and you get to like race them, and you get to train them, and you get to feed them and bring them to daycare and all this amazing stuff. It was like Nintendogs for chows. And I was like, I spent so many hours playing this, and that's actually been what I've been doing the most. So
Yep.
I'm just putting that out there. Anyone who plays this games will understand the nostalgia of that.
Yep.
Other than that, I've been playing Stardew because Stardew is my ultimate stress relief game. Everyone knows what Stardew is. I haven't really done honestly that much with it. It's just the like stress relief of like doing your farm over and over again.
Yeah, you spoke about it last time, which is really good, and it's nice to see that it continues to be a game that you go to when you're stressed, for a stress relief, and that like it's not even as if you try. It's not even as if you're like, oh, I really need to like I'm really stressed. Hold on, guys, move out of the way. I need to play Stardew. You just very naturally gravitate towards it, which is really nice. You know? Yeah. Which I think,
especially during stressful times, like I was doing exams last week, and that's exactly why I gravitated towards it. And then this, like, since my exams are over, I'm playing different games again.
Yeah.
So
just to stop off on a couple, obviously, there's a couple of things I have to bring up, which is that Kayleigh, she has been playing Fortnite for a little while. Fortnite was actually the first real online game that Kayleigh played with me. I remember playing. We just played.
No, with anyone. Anyone.
Yeah. And then we just played together online, and you were on the Switch, and you just got a random set of headphones. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll give it a go. And
it was work headphones I stole from my job. Not that I stole, but I used them at home, and I was literally like, I don't have any gaming proper headphones. They're these little flimsy oaks for like video calls.
Yeah, and we always use Fortnite less so as a serious outlet and more of like a place to socialise, place to hang out with people online, like of Primark and everyone else and Chulok and stuff like that, which is really nice in Dover. So, of course, there was a stark change in Kayleigh when she went to the Xbox, when suddenly she became,
I became a
Rambo. Fortnite, and was just absolutely slaying people, because there's a huge difference between the tiny little Joy-Cons and the Xbox
drifty Joy-Cons, may I say?
Yeah, drifty Joy-Cons as well. But either way,
also, like, to anyone on YouTube, I'm just gonna point out that I have my Skyward Sword Joy-Cons that do not have drift, so I'm just pointing that out there. It's a shameless plug,
lovely. But even if you use those, you wouldn't be able to play them very well in Fortnite because they're just too small to be able to aim with. So a couple of things I want to stop off as is just, what is it like going from the Switch to the control for games like Fortnite and stuff like that, and how's that made you feel just being able to be like that? And then I'll stop off on the other thing before we finish.
Yeah, it's insane. It's so good. Even the quality, like this, like of playing the games, like I was so used to the Switch quality of games, like even just looking at them. And then I went to Xbox, and I went back to playing Witcher on the Switch, and I was kind of like, oh, this would be so much better on the Xbox. Yeah, definitely. But my Fortnite game has gone up like 10,000. It's so good. And the problem is, like, I went and I was playing with Primark. But before I started playing with Primark, I decided, I was like, look, I've never played it on Xbox before, so I'll do some solos. I got my solos wins.
Yeah, that's mad. Like, that's so good.
Like, look, I'm sure to anyone who plays like Warzone and stuff, they're like, what, whatever. But I was like, for me, who never ever played shooter games ever in my life, I was like, this is huge. This is so definitely good. And it was actually pretty good.
It's been amazing to see the difference in the fact that, like, beforehand you were just sort of rolling with things and just running around and all this kind of stuff, but now, like, genuinely I've been down and you've run over and killed the guy that's killed me and picked me up, and genuinely, like, been really super useful in there and stuff, which is cool, because it's just like, it must help, like, be nice for you to be able to be, more than just running around with us and just taking it easy,
Yeah, for sure. But the problem is, I don't want to get too competitive because I get very stressed out. But but I think Fortnite's a good game for that, where if you don't want to get too stressed and you want to just hang out and stuff. But like, I've been I was so good. There was one game that I got like 8 kills.
Yeah.
And I think you had only gotten like 2 or 3, and I was just like, that's insane, because that would have never happened before.
No, not when you were on the Switch anyway.
Yeah.
And the last thing is, of course, you've mentioned the Witcher DLC, which we'll do a bit more of a deep dive on at some point between the two of us, albeit that whether that's on my new podcast or whether it's somewhere else. I'm not sure where we're going to do that, but how are you enjoying that?
Oh, I love it. I think I'm playing Hearts of Stone at the moment, and I just think the character development, or the characters that are in that DLC, are just iconic. They're really, really good. And I think you never think past the main storyline that the characters will ever be as good as the original ones. But like, some of the characters, like Shani and Olgierd's brother, Vladimir the Ghost.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, he's iconic. And even like, he obviously, like, I don't know, it's not really a spoiler, but he takes over Geralt's body at some point, and Geralt has to have this like really flamboyant personality to match the ghost. It's so funny. Like, I was just sitting there cackling like all the way through, and it's just really, really good.
He could like talk through Geralt and stuff, which is great. So like Geralt like lets him drive, so Geralt was like, hold on, yeah, you drive, and then he drives Geralt's body, and it's just
but see the Geralt like walking around with his hands on his hips, and he's like this, and you're like, it was so good. I like literally just finished that mission, and I was just like, that was so amazing. It's really good.
Are you starting to see now why I said that the DLCs are as good, if not better, than the main story? Like, because it's like you wouldn't even think of it, because like DLCs tend to just be an add-on as opposed to like really genuinely enriching the experience, which is crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And I've heard like everyone I'm friends with on Instagram and stuff have been like Blood and Wine is just going to like steal your heart and soul, and it's so good. And you're gonna
so deep as well. Like when you get to the end of it and stuff, it's like really, really good. But yeah, it's just lovely to hear that you're enjoying that. And like I say, we will break it down at some point and get into it a bit more. But is there anything else you want to stop off on what's the story?
No, I think that's it. Obviously, we were playing Elder Scrolls together, but I think you can have a little bit of a chitty chat about that.
I'll be diving into that a little bit. So. I did have written down that I have completed Spyro 1 and I've completed Spyro 2 now. I'm on to Spyro 3, which I'm really enjoying. I enjoyed Spyro 1 because it just gave me this good sense of like what it's like and how to complete it and stuff like that. And like the final boss was quite hard and stuff, and I quite enjoyed that. And then Spyro 2 is, I just have to just quickly say that I'm going to thank Spyro 2 for reigniting that part of me that is often lost, because I'm more of a narrative person anyways, and I would never ever shun anybody for being a narrative person. I want to experience things on easy and stuff like that, but there was actually a great sense of accomplishment when I did beat Spyro 2, because it was so difficult for me to do, because it was so like you had to go back and do this and do this and do that and get as many like it's not eggs because I'm on the third one now. It was the orbs and all these different things. But I just really felt really proud of myself when I beat the big bosses and all this kind of stuff, which like made me feel that maybe one day I could go on to potentially play something like Dark Souls or something like that if I really put my mind to it.
Spyro's hard. It's really hard, because people are like, oh, it's not as hard as Crash Bandicoot, and Crash Bandicoot's the ultimate like hard one, but I'm like, there are parts of Spyro that are like hardcore.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, really frustratingly hardcore.
And I genuinely plouged through, and I really stuck my mind to it, which I'm going to do the third game as well. And it just like generally gave me this real sense of satisfaction when the credits rolled, which like I haven't felt for a game in quite a while. Like I was being like, I always feel good. I always feel like, wow, I'm really happy. Like even Concrete Genie and stuff that I completed recently, I was like, I really am so happy that I've done that. But just completing that, because it was so difficult for me coming to the end, because there was so many times I was like, that's it, I'm turning the switch off, I'm not going back, that's it, I'm done with Spyro, I've seen what there is to see in Spyro, I can't even be bothered to carry on. But I actually ended up going back to it and powering through and completing it. But I will just say that basically I've, there's other stuff that I'll bring up and partner up with Luke and stuff about playing Warzone, whatever games, but I have to quickly just go into xCloud. So xCloud, Kayleigh obviously got an Xbox, everybody, in case you didn't realise then. And that is that, so that opened the door for so much, because Game Pass is so amazing. And I no longer have an Xbox, so I was really envious of just being like, oh my God, I love, there's so many experiences to have on there, there's so many great games, there's so many games that are coming out that I want to play on it, like Fable and all these different games that are going to be coming out on it that are just utterly fantastic. In fact, they own Bethesda now, so they're going to get all the Bethesda titles and all this kind of stuff. It's just like, and we were like, look, we want to play Elder Scrolls Online together. So I was like, look, I can't afford, or don't want to have to afford an Xbox right now. So I went, what I'm going to try is I'm going to try this xCloud out. And I'm playing Elder Scrolls Online on my PC just as smoothly. I wouldn't say obviously graphically as good as on your Series X and stuff like that, but just as smoothly and just as well as you're playing it on actual physical hardware in your house. And that is just utterly fantastic to me. And yes, at times there's a little input delay, like you might come up, and if your internet's struggling, or if there's some kind of glitch in connection, you might have a bit of a, like, you push right and then your guy goes right, you're like, but I've not experienced it to a degree where it's game breaking. I've not experienced it to a degree that it's actually bothered me at all. I've not even had one time where I've been like, this is just, sorry, I'm gonna have to get off because it's just killing me. And it's just been so smooth and so amazing. I've been able to play Sea of Thieves, I've been able to play all these amazing games again, and had all of that Game Pass library opened up to me, and all I have is an Xbox control and nothing else. And this is like what the future is going to be. It's absolutely fantastic. The fact that I'm just like Netflix, just choosing what I want, loads up, I'm playing. And it's just
off the back of Netflix.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's Netflix saying they're going to be streaming games on the cloud.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to be partnering with PlayStation, which is interesting as well. But like, just like Elder Scrolls Online specifically is something that we've played together on there, which is what I've used it most for. But like the other day, I had my friend round, Bushan, my oldest and bestest friend, and we just we're just plowing through and doing random stuff. Let's try this, let's try that. The beauty of Game Pass before my eyes, but just with a controller. That's all I had, and I just couldn't. I was just like, wow. We're playing Friday Night at Freddy's. We're just doing all these stupid things, going through and trying to start different games. Like he tried to start Doom Eternal and all these different stuff, and it's just like, this is so fantastic. And Xbox now have moved into this. We're not about. Although the Series X is very, very good, they're not necessarily, their selling point no longer is power. It's not they're the best thing. They are just, you can do it on your bloody watch. We just want you to be able to do it anywhere, and that's like that play anywhere is just so perfectly encapsulated in xCloud, and I'm absolutely loving it. And if there's anybody out there who doesn't have an Xbox, then sign up to Games Pass. Put your phone on the side and get yourself an Xbox controller down the sort of trade-in shop down the road for £10-15 or whatever, or £20, and you can buy Game Pass for £1 for a month and just go ahead and try everything you want. And obviously, if your internet connection is no good, you're not going to have any fun. But if you've got over 60 meg download, something like that, give it a go, because this is just like, honestly, it's completely blown my mind. But before I finish up, Elder Scrolls Online is something that I've always wanted to try. I've always wanted to give it a go. And it's, how good is it? How good was that session we had on Friday night? Like, it was so amazing. And it's like, literally, it feels like I'm playing Skyrim to play with you. Like, that's what it feels like to me. But you're just going around all these amazing worlds, the lore and everything. It's just amazing.
Yeah, and obviously, like, we're both big Elder Scrolls fans, so the fact that we're even able to get, and I think it's really good we did it now. Like, there's so many DLCs to it, and also they fixed a lot of the errors that came out when it first came out. So like, we're playing it now being like, oh, this is phenomenal. We had never have thought that there was anything wrong with it from when it first launched. It's just so good, and it's getting to experience the world of Tamriel. Like, all of it. Like, obviously you have to buy a lot of the expansions to experience all of it, but you still get to roam around. Like, at the moment we've just been in Elsewhere and I think Somerset Isles, but it's just been insane. Where, like, obviously
so excellent. Like, the gameplay I'm really enjoying, the storyline and the side quests and the variety of the side quests has been just as fantastic and up and down and left and right as Skyrim is. You know, like, you walk in somewhere and then suddenly you're finding someone's brother's old shield in this place, and you know, all these different, it's got that same feel that the Skyrim has, and it's just like, for me, it's just been so excellent. It's so much fun, and I can't wait to do like a top 5 favorite things we like about Elder Scrolls Online or something that we can really break it down a bit more, because I don't want to stop off on it too long because we've got a lot to get through today on the podcast. But I will probably be continuing over the next couple of podcasts and stuff to really stop off and break down just how utterly fucking amazing Elder Scrolls Online is, and how much I've enjoyed it, and how just that you can all. My favorite thing is that when there's a game that the second you talk about it, you just want to stop everything and play it. That's when you know you've hit the fucking jackpot, and that's when you know you love a game, and that's what I feel like with it right now. I'm just like, shit, I'm talking about it right now. I just want to play.
Which that's so true. Yeah, all I'll say is that if you love Elder Scrolls or Skyrim or Oblivion and you love MMOs, like, it's just perfect.
It's
really just perfect. It incorporates both those things perfectly into each other.
Yeah, and it's really just fun. Especially, I'm not sure whether that would be the same if I was playing it by myself, but especially when you're playing it with someone, because we're just having such a laugh and just going around and doing some random stuff. And we won't stop off on it now, but we did see a random person on there who was having a party with a bunch of people.
Oh, it's iconic.
It's all proximity mic based, so you could like go up to people and say hello, how you doing, or whatever. If you're in like an area, you can join the voice chat. But again, I won't go into it.
We got 10,000 gold out of it.
This random guy gave us 10,000 gold, which was great. Yeah, that then great. Like sort of like reminded me of RuneScape and stuff. It was great, but like it's like it really is. And I can't. I never played it to begin with, so I don't know whether there's anybody who's hurt by the problems that like it had to begin with. But at this current state, excellent, absolutely excellent. But that is what's the story this week, and we will continue now into our first gaming top 5. So this will be the new segment, the new middle segment, which is what did you call the middle segment before? Can you remember? I can't remember what we called them in the segment, but it's top fives, game of top fives now.
Dead to us now.
Yeah. It's in the past. Leave it.
Yeah.
So
Gone from our memories.
This week it is our top 5 gaming characters that we actually developed in real life, as full on as this is, some form of romantic love or attachment to, which I know, there's
hardcore simps.
There's probably people who are listening who are like, oh my god, but there's probably more people listening that go, yes, I have fully fallen in love with a fictional character. And
there is no one. There could be absolutely no, especially if you play story-based games, that like you don't turn around and you're like, I fell in love with this character.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing Warzone for the rest of your life, there can't be like. No, obviously, Luke fell in love with Link from Ocarina of Time, but no, I'm joking. I always have to give a dig in at Luke, sorry.
But like, I remember when I was younger, like my sister just was like massive into Pirates of the Caribbean, and I remember her telling me like she had like an actual crush on
Jack Sparrow.
On Jack Sparrow, and
oh yeah,
for sure. Like,
good one.
Totally agree with that.
What did I?
Yeah. But I'm just saying that it's just amazing that a story can be told so well to you that you end up falling in love with a character specifically, in a romantic way. So we're going to take turns. We're going to go one after the other. So we'll both start with number 5 on our list. So, Kayleigh, you go first.
I don't really have a particular order, to be honest, but
just we won't call it our top 5 as in we're going to go 1 to 5, but just 5 things that we thought of this time. Yeah. So we'll just say these are our 5, not necessarily our top 5 as in 1 to 5, but just our top 5 in any order. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Cool. Okay. I have written down Ciri from The Witcher.
Okay.
So, obviously, I think no matter who you are, if you've played The Witcher, you care about Ciri, whether it be vicariously through Geralt, because obviously Geralt is her father figure and he cares a lot about her. So I think, no matter what, develop some sort of love or care for her.
Mm-hmm.
But I, at some point, was just like, can she be my girlfriend?
Mm-hmm.
I just think she's so badass as a especially as a female character. Like, you get to play as her I wish you get to play as her more, actually. That's always something that I've heard people say, and I agree with, that you wish you could play as her more, because she's very obviously, she has her powers, but she doesn't want that to define her. She wants to use hard work, and she wants to
be a good person and stuff like that.
Yeah, she's always trying to be a good person. Like, there's certain parts of The Witcher where she's like, Geralt, can we go do this thing because I really want to help this person, or I think justice needs to be done on certain characters. And she really, really fights for what she believes in, which is always the good of people. Especially considering her past. She has a pretty tough enough upbringing, a lot of hardships and stuff like that. And even her personality, she's a lovely personality. She jokes around. She's just really upbeat. And she's even at points willing to sacrifice herself for the good of the planet at times. And you're just like, oh my god, this girl is just amazing. And also she's pretty. Can we just point that out? She's just very pretty.
Super pretty.
Yeah.
She has a really cool accent and voice as well. The voice.
I love her voice. And it's probably going to come up in some of my other characters as well. Like, some of the voices are just melt my heart. But
definitely,
yeah, Ciri's voice is really, really cool. So I just love her. She's great. I really do. And then there are I think she's also potentially the least sexualized female in the game.
Definitely, because I think they walk the fine line of you don't want to over-sexualize her because you're supposed to see her as
Geralt,
as a daughter. So you want to keep her in that kind of as the player, I guess they want you to keep you in that place of thinking, she is although you can do romantic with her, can't you, with the chap from the farm? Did you choose to do that?
I did.
Right.
I kind of flirted with the idea. I don't think I went full on to it. I think there's a few different options where you could either be like, no, you can be kind of like yes, or you can kind of toy with the idea. Yeah. So I was kind of just toying with it. But I just don't know. She just seems like a character I would be I want you. At first I was I want to be her best friend.
Yeah.
Because but then I was just I just ended up really fancying her. I was she's just great. And I just want to go on adventures with her. And all you want to do is kind of like make her happy. She's been through a lot, and go on the, because she's obviously very adventurous and quite like rebellious at times and stubborn. And I really like that about her. And I was like, yeah, imagine going and killing, like becoming a witcher with her and just going around killing or not animals, monsters.
Yeah, definitely.
Like traveling around the world with her. Be great.
Which is interesting for me because I had like flickers of that with her, but I was more so down the line of thinking of her in more of the daughter way. But I guess there was, especially when they sort of, because it came out of left field where I was like, I felt as if I like placed her firmly in my mind in the daughter category. And then when they had that little bit where you could start to flirt with Matey at the farm and stuff, and she could be herself and be a bit more cheeky and stuff, I was like, oh, actually, like I could find, like, I'm starting to find like Siri a bit more like attractive and stuff, which is cool.
Yeah, it depends, I think, on what perspective you take, because I think in my opinion, and I don't know actually about her age at all, but I saw her as more being around my age group.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So I was thinking, from me personally, because like The Witcher is interesting in that way, and you'll find that too, where you make decisions for Geralt that you wouldn't make for yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you're like, oh, Geralt would prefer this, or this is meant for Geralt. Yeah. But like, I'd love to choose the other person because personally, my own morals and stuff like that, I would choose them.
Yeah.
I
love Triss, and I would totally be with Triss. But I know that Geralt loves Yennefer really deep down.
Yeah, so that's exactly why I chose Yennefer for my first.
But to recenter, the Ciri is a fascinating character, and it's really interesting to see that she crossed that line in your brain and stuff, which is cool. Like it's so fantastic that these characters can. And like I say, it's not as if, and this is something I think that's so amazing about Ciri specifically, is that, you know, she's not crossed your brain because it's like you know, and this is not in any way derogatory to Yennefer's character or anything, but she is sexualized and she is shown naked, and there are these things that you can see and do with Yennefer that would obviously instigate that kind of thought pattern in your mind, and it's cool that you've gotten there with Ciri without necessarily having that sexuality and stuff there.
Yeah. I think she is outwardly pretty.
Yes.
I think there's no denying that, but a lot of why I fell in love with her as a character was because of her personality.
Yes. Yeah. And her voice is dope.
Voice is so good. It's just so good. I was like, oh, I'd listen to that all day.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think... I don't know. I think, as I said, it's just mainly to do with the fact that I think she's roughly around my age, and I think I could really empathize with her in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I've said this briefly before in another episode, that just like, obviously she had the relationship with Geralt with her dad, and I have that very similar relationship with my own dad. So I think I just related to her as a person.
Yeah, definitely. Which is cool.
Which is how I made the connection with her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's dope.
But yeah.
Okay. My first one is Piper from Fallout 4. Piper is a little she works in like the press or something.
Yeah, I know her.
And you meet her when you get to I forget the name of the baseball park, but that's the city that you go to at the very start of it. And you meet her and she can become your companion and stuff. And I'm not sure whether there's much you can do in regards to actually romanticizing with her and stuff like that in it. But she just had such like a cute demeanor and such like a just genuinely helpful and nice personality that just made me think like, oh, you're just really lovely and you just genuinely want to be there for me and you just genuinely care for me, which just made me feel really like I just loved Piper. Like I just always wanted to take her with me. And obviously you had the option of dog meat and all these different people that you could take with you as your companion, but I just stuck with Piper the entire time because I was just like, oh, I really want to keep her with me because I just like have grown to like have this attachment to her and this like kind of like love for her. But like I say, and it crossed my mind in that way with rather than being like, oh, she's just a great companion, you know, like a Samwise Gamgee or whatever. But she like changed in my mind for just like there was lots of I get like Fallout always have this thing where they say like everyone liked that or everyone disliked that or whatever. They do this little like morality thing when you make certain decisions in it and stuff like that. And she would always like side with me in certain ways and just chip in with little things now and again that I just really like. And what made me realize that like I liked her in that kind of way or liked her in more of like a romantic way was when I had the opportunity to take on other people like Valentine with me or something like that, who's someone else you meet who's like a synth in the town and stuff like that. And that was like when I met him or met other people that I had the opportunity, I was just like, oh, as much as actually at this point it makes sense to take to change to being Valentine or whoever else. I just didn't want to leave her. I was just like, oh, I have this, and then like I just started doing silly stuff there where I was like, oh, you know, if me and Piper live together, and like, because you can create towns in Fallout and stuff like that, so I'd be like making a town, like make a bed and stuff, and like, oh, let's make mine and Piper's room all cute and all this kind of stuff. You know, this is the kind of stuff I was thinking.
That's
and, like,
cute.
stuff like that. Which again was
Can you romance people in Fallout 4? I'm not.
I see. It's been a while since I've played, and I can't remember where you can sort of romance her a bit and ask her a few more of those sort of questions and stuff. Because you can romance certain people, or like marry people in Skyrim, for example. But I don't think you can in Fallout, like actually marry them. But I remember that you can. There's certain scenarios in which you can sleep with people. Like I remember there's some woman who is a singer in one of the like downstairs bars of. I wish I could remember the name of the city, and it's really bothering me that I can't remember the name of the city. But there's a different city that you go to. That there's this woman like down in the lower part of a bar who's a bit of like a, you know, she'd go and talk to her about her like job and stuff, and then you can end up sleeping with her. But like. With Piper, like I say, it was less of a, oh, you're attractive, and oh, I think that, like, you know, I'd like to sleep with you, kind of like an attraction. It was just like genuinely over time I grew to just like have a real attachment to her as a character, and that's just really, really nice. But yes, that is my first one, which is Piper, and I'll be interested to see when you get around to playing Fallout whether you like Piper as well. Yes, I've seen online that a lot of people don't like Piper, but I'm not sure whether that's also because people don't like what's her name from Skyrim, do they? I forget her name.
Lydia.
People don't like Lydia very much, but I think that's more so because the mechanics of that engine make them just act stupid at times. So like, you know,
especially Lydia. For some reason, Lydia is more stupid than the rest of the companions.
Yeah,
I don't know why. And we like, if you know Dova, she will, you know, adhere to that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
She hates Lydia.
But I think that's like more so to do with the mechanics than it is to do with like them as an actual person or whatever. So that's why I'm not sure whether some people don't like Piper because of that. But that is my number 5.
Nice.
Number 4.
Right. Mine is a character called N from Pokemon Black and White.
Okay.
So I'm coming at this from like teenage Kayleigh's perspective because, oh my goodness, I ended up falling in love with him. Like, as in my character in my game, I was like, I had this real big fantasy for like my character to fall in love with him. So it's very teenagery.
Yeah.
Thinking back on it, but I love it. I also love it. We watched Twilight the other day. That's how teenagery my brain is still. Yeah. So yeah, he's such a complex character, and he's one of my favorite characters in the whole Pokemon, all of the Pokemon games, because it's very complex. He has quite a, I'm going to say, traumatic background. He's basically adopted by this organization who he grows up as a child only living with Pokemon, so he can talk with Pokemon.
Okay.
But he has really very little social interactions except with certain adults who would have raised him in that organization. So you meet him, and he's just this really mysterious character. He's portrayed as quite handsome, I think, in like as an anime style. He's like got green hair. He's very unusual, but he comes across very caring to Pokemon. So when you first meet him, he's like, "Oh, I talked to your Pokemon. They really like you and stuff, and that's really good that you treat your Pokemon well." And you're like, "Oh, cool. This is really nice. This dude talks to Pokemon." And you're just like, "Oh, that's great." And then at some point, you go on a Ferris wheel ride with him, and I don't know if they constructed this way or my brain constructed it this way. That I was like, "Ooh, we're on a date."
Yeah.
And like, I was like, what, 14 or something, or like even younger potentially. So I was like, "Oh, this is amazing."
Yeah.
And you're on this Ferris wheel ride with him, and you're just like, "Oh my God, we're on a date. This is fantastic." And then we literally get to the top of the Ferris wheel and stop, and he goes, "By the way, I'm the leader of Team Plasma, who are this evil organization." And you're like,
"Oh no.
What? Just what?" And you're like stuck at the top of a Ferris wheel with him, and you're like,
"Oh my God.
This is not a date then." Not a date. So
Jeez.
Anyway, not to go too much on about it then, but he's still, even though he's the head of this evil organization, he still shows a lot of this caring side to Pokemon, and what he's doing for the organization is because he cares about Pokemon and how people treat them so badly.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when you beat him kind of at the end, and you beat his father and stuff like that, he actually has the capability to change his mind and be like, okay, I realize now my goal was good, but how I was going about it was wrong.
Yeah.
But it's way more complex because obviously he got like Stockholm syndrome because he was raised by these people, completely socially isolated from people also. And he was just raised with Pokemon, which was like, you know, mentally that would mess you up realistically. Like to the point where how could you, it was just really, it shows a really strong character of him that he was able to change his mind at the end of the game where he's like, okay, look, I realize now the error of my ways. And he just always shows this really caring side. And he goes, and then you have Pokemon Black and White 2. So there's a sequel to this game. And he actually comes back in it. And he's like been going around. He's been trying to like socially connect with people. And he's like doing a lot of soul searching. He's trying to help Pokemon. He's just doing all these lovely things and has a lovely demeanor about him. And he comes back and actually helps the player character in the second game.
Yeah.
I was like freaking out when I saw him. I was like, oh my God, he's back. I was like, this is amazing. I was like, oh, my future was good.
Flutters.
And yeah, he just comes back to like, you know, help the player character, even though it's also against his old adopted father who had raised him.
Yeah.
Who was really evil, like really messed up, like did really messed up stuff to him and stuff like that. And you're just like, oh my God. But the fact that he was able to realize that his dad was a bad person, regardless of anything, because there's a lot of characters that you see that like they're raised that way, they'll never change their minds, you know. But yeah, I always just had these like imaginations where, because like when you're younger as well, it's like really easy to fantasize and like make up your own stories, especially with Pokemon and stuff, that you're like, oh, I'm going to be the best Pokemon trainer, here's my party. And I used to like conduct it in a way that I was like, oh, my character's going to fall in love with him and we're going to raise Pokemon together and that'd be great. But yeah, that's kind of him.
Yeah, that's cute.
I was just like, oh, love it.
Yeah,
so
that's
good.
Super cute. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's cool that he had that turnaround as well, which is nice. But I think even if he hadn't made the turnaround, you still would just genuinely, his character and his aesthetics and stuff was something that you were just attracted to in general.
Yeah, he was portrayed like a really like handsome, mysterious type, but then he was also given this like, caring personality.
Yeah, was it like just out of interest, just because I'm just taking in what you're giving me and I've never seen it before or anything. So like, was it like walking this line of like he was a bad boy but nice? Or was it like more so that he just had like the aesthetic and was nice?
Okay, just because we just watched Twilight, I'm going to compare it to Twilight. So this is terrible. You know the way Edward Cullen is supposed to be that kind of socially awkward pretty boy?
Yeah. And that's what he's like, is it? Is that what you sort of
kind of, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
that makes more sense. All right, sweet.
That, like, especially teenagers would really, like, for some reason, teenagers really seem to love the socially awkward pretty boy. I don't know why it is, but it's a thing.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
My next is probably on your list and is Serana.
Yes, she is on my list.
So, we can have a discussion about her. Basically,
we can fight over here. It's fine. I will win.
I just had only played Skyrim growing up a lot, and I used to run around do the like Dark Brotherhood. I used to run around just potter about, and like, you know, I was very young, so I used to like almost role playing it and fantasize and stuff, and run around and pretend I was doing this, or pretend I had a little camp going in the nights and stuff, or whatever. That was when I was far younger, when I was like 13, 14. But then when I got older, which was, I must have not actually completed Skyrim until I was 25, and like. When I first played through it, I played through everything because it was on the Switch. It was complete edition, and I obviously came across Serana and just completely fell in love with her because you can't help but do it, because I think she's the only character in it that isn't like romanticized in regards to like they actually give you like genuine concrete reason to want to fall in love with her, and that she's like vulnerable, and that she's also like really strong and really like lovely and genuinely cares. And although she's a vampire, she does these different things, and they give you these things later on, like decisions where it's like you can't actually ever romanticize her properly, but you can do stuff like change me into a vampire like you know. And she's like, but even when you do that, she's like again, just a bit like Edward Cullen to a degree, is a bit like, I don't want to do that to you. I don't want you to live the life I'm living, and all this kind of stuff. Like, I'll do it, but you have to be sure, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I want to be with you forever. I want to love you forever. Trying to like, you know, just bite me, take me with you. I'll just be as vampire. Bite me. I'll be a vampire with you forever, whatever, you know. And it's just really interesting to like that she particularly, because she has, I think she's just so well written that's why I fell in love with her, as opposed to like, she's not like, again, she's not over sexualized or anything. She's not like, like she's not got like, she's not all like aesthetically over sexualized or anything like that. She's just genuinely like homely and hearty, and I just like completely fell in love with her though over the time, especially when you go through her story. It just like, as it progressed, I was just, to begin with, I was just a bit like, ooh, a new companion, and then like a couple of missions later I was like, ooh, I'm really liking you, and then a couple of missions after I was like, I fucking love you, Sarna, why are they putting you through this? And you know, like that's like how it like went, you know, as it progressed.
Yeah, she's such a horrible upbringing in life and all this type of stuff that you're kind of like how I said about the my characters too, you're kind of in awe of how they turned out to be so nice, or how good they end up being, because like obviously how she became a vampire is terrible. What her father has done to him is also terrible. Her mother's like, even though she loves her mother's done some questionable stuff to her in her life, and how the Dawn Guard treat her, like with discrimination and stuff. She doesn't owe it to anyone else to save people, but she still goes against all of that, and she's just like, I need to help save the world, and that's what it's going to be.
Stands amongst the vampire slayers to do the right thing and stuff, and that's where I remember those moments when you take her back to the Dawn Guard castle, or I forget what the name of that is.
Fort Dawn Guard.
Yeah, that's it. So you take it to that, and they like are like, oh, you know, what's she doing here, and all this kind of stuff, and just in general. And I think like there was just something different about her, and I know we just sort of made a joke about Lydia and stuff earlier on, but like Lydia's very sort of devoid.
Yes, my Thane.
Yes, that's it. Just very devoid.
Very monotone.
Yeah, and stuff like that. And loads of the companions are, you know, but she just has a bit of depth and stuff, and says things like, "Oh, I don't really like it when it's sunny" and stuff. And like again with the Piper thing, I cared about her enough to be like, "Oh God, I wish I could just go back in the cave with you, really." I feel bad. And because, like you say, she's been through so much, and she's still so lovely, and she's still so caring, she's still so heroic, like just genuinely heroic, that you want to just like take her away for a weekend and just make her feel happy for a weekend, and let her like see what it's like to just be loved and be cared for and all this kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You're just like, I want to end this for her, and then look after her, even though she could definitely look after herself, but even just like show her love and show her care, and just like go places with her and show her the world, and like all that type of stuff, that you're just like, 100%. You deserve so much better from what you've had. And she's just genuinely lovely. She's just a really lovely character.
And she also, I have to say this, because she has this, like, she's lovely too, she clearly ends up caring about you and stuff, but it never crosses her end of being like she falls in love with you in any way. But they are almost like construct it so that you can fall in love with her, and you can try to fall in love with her, but she ends up sort of saying no in the end and stuff. That I have to bring it up that, you know, you almost want what you can't have, and you know, not being able to have Serana, and not being able to just be like, oh, we're off to Thingy to go get married, you know, like that you can do with any of the others. That suddenly that makes her more alluring. That like makes you like want to try harder to like you know, or whatever. And I know that that's like not necessarily the right way to think, but like I know that that's something that I feel a lot of people that will be listening and stuff would probably resonate with in regards to being like
definitely, because especially like because there is romance in Skyrim, and then it's like, oh, all the ones you want to romance, this is going to go into my next person as well. You're like, oh, I can't romance the person I want. Why is that? Or I could fall in love with matey down the road who has no depth to him. Why is that?
But yes,
so I would like, that's what mods are for, I suppose.
Serana. But yeah, anything else particularly on her?
No, you kind of hit the nail on the head with her. Yeah, she really does. If you know Serana, like there's loads of people that we know who love Serana. Like Dova loves Serana. Like Stars, Sitting in Stars, she loves Serana. Like there's just so many people that resonate with loving her. So I think people will just understand why we both also love her.
You know that when you type "how can you," or do you type Serana into Google, it says "how can you romance" or "how can you marry Serana." You know, there's a few people that probably share in your way of thinking there. Okay, so because that was both of ours, you wanted me to go again, or you wanted you to go?
I'm gonna go just because my next one is Skyrim related.
Oh, okay, far away.
And it's quite quick anyway. I'm not gonna go too much into it, but it's gonna be controversial. Okay. I said Ulfric Stormcloak.
Okay, right.
And this comes from the teenage Kayleigh thought process again, where, and I know this is potentially not the healthy way to go, but it's a very teenagery way to go, where it's like, oh, you want to change a person. So Ulfric obviously, yeah, yes, yeah. So I always play as a wood elf, right? Or he's very racist. Like Ulfric Stormcloak is known to be a very racist character, and what happened was before I got Skyrim, it came out on release, and someone I knew was playing it, and they said that they played as a dark elf. They joined the Stormcloaks. Then by the end of it, Ulfric Stormcloak was nice to the dark elves, and I was like, "Oh, that's good. He can change." But I actually don't think that ever happens. I think that person may have lied to me. So I went off that basis as I think I was 16 or something, 15 or 16, and I was like, "Okay." I had made this idea in my head that I was like, because as you do, you fall in love with characters. He's this big hunky Viking man who has a really sexy voice. Once again, really sexy voice.
And face and hair.
Yeah, and you're just like, oof.
Yep.
Pummel me. No, that's actually terrible. I shouldn't do that. But yeah, that goes really...
Sure.
You
get that though. You get that. He's very like, but because he's a king as well, because he's the leader of the Stormcloaks, he has a presence and you have that, like when you first walk into that big like stony corridor and he's like sat at the end and you can hear his voice and like carries through the room and stuff. You're like, oh, fuck. You're like,
ooh, look at that hunky man on the throne. So, yeah. So you see him, and so in my head, I constructed this idea that I'm a wood elf. I'm going to join the Stormcloak army, and then I had this all constructed in my head, almost like a little fan fiction. That I was like, oh, he's going to be super racist and he's going to treat me really bad. But as time goes on, I'm going to prove to him that, like, elves are worth it, and elves, aren't just what he thinks they are. And he turns his way around and falls in love with me. And then all of a sudden, like, by the end of it, he's like, oh, I'm actually, like, we beat the Imperials. And he's like, oh, I've fallen in love with this elf, and then I'm going to treat all the elves good. Yeah. So in my head, I've constructed this whole story. So yes, I'd fallen in love with him as a 15-year-old and made this whole story up. And I was like, it was great. I loved it. It didn't transpire.
Nope.
I'm still upset. Because obviously then, as you get older, you're like, oh shit, people don't tend to change like that.
Yeah.
But it's just this whole thing where, especially as a teenager, and we had a very brief discussion about this, that like, what is being produced for teenage audiences is like, oh, you have these men that it's like, oh, I choose you and all this type of stuff.
I can fix you, and
Yeah, exactly. So I was coming at it from that angle. So obviously now, as an older person, I would be kind of like, oh, he's just racist. Why would I?
Yes.
Why would I?
Yeah, for sure.
But I still hold on to my story.
Yeah, and he's like a massive egotistical fucker as well.
Yeah.
He loves himself. And I think again, to a younger, impressionable Kayleigh, even that could be attractive or whatever. Just being a bit like, oh god, he's so self-assured, and he's just a big, strong fucking whatever.
In fairness to him, he has good reasons. He's quite powerful. He was able to master the voice above most humans that weren't like dragonborn. So he has good reason, and if you don't have that attitude, you can't take over. So I understand why he has that attitude.
You gotta be like a king if you're a king,
But yes, in my Skyrim world, he stopped being racist and fell in love with me. So
nice. Yeah.
So there you have it.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. But I think for me, like I say, his voice is very nice. He's very aesthetically pleasing, but he's a dick. So that's where my attraction stops. Okay, my next one is I'm gonna. Yeah, all right. So I've got Yennefer down, so I'm going to split. I've got Triss and Yennefer. So the last one I'm going to say I've got both, but I'm going to put my other one in between the two of them. But in fact, I'll talk about Triss and Yennefer. Okay, I'll just put, because that's two, so this is knocking two off my list. Yennefer, because Triss I completely and utterly fell in love with in the second game. Because I played the second game and I loved her and I thought she was amazing, and I just thought she was so like just pretty looking and just like so like lovely to Geralt and everything, had such a cute voice, and just like I thought her actual character model was so pretty and stuff like that. And then I came into the second game and went in the exact same vein of thinking I met her in the city, we dealt with the rats or whatever and all that when you first meet her, but she has this kind of like somberness about her which she didn't have in the second game because her and Geralt were together in the second game. So like I then was just like, oh, Triss, don't be upset. Like, you're so lovely and beautiful, and I just love you so much. And then I ended up like romancing her, of course, and carrying on and all this kind of stuff. And I was just totally head over heels in love with Triss anyway, because she's so lovely. She's just so lovely. She's so nice. And I know there's a lot of like Triss haters out there who are like, she knew that Geralt was with Yennefer, and then Geralt lost his memory and kind of stepped in there a bit. But Geralt was like, why wouldn't you? I would step in if I had the chance with Geralt. So like, why wouldn't you? So like, yeah. But I do understand. Like, that was pretty snaky of her to carry on and do that, even though. But I just think genuinely she actually loves Geralt as well. Like, she just genuinely has this deep love for Geralt, the same kind of love I think he has for Yennefer, but perhaps doesn't have for her, that she actually feels for him.
It's fine. You have that love for her, so you can replace Geralt.
Yeah, exactly. And she doesn't love me back, so I know exactly how she feels. We can talk to each other. She can tell me about Geralt. I'll tell her about her. Whatever. But yeah. So, but she like encapsulated me and just had me so like I was like, I'm so Team Triss. And the thing that knocked me off my socks was that when Skellige came around and the whirlwind of Yennefer hit me, I just couldn't help. And I'm not sure if like it's like a male thing sometimes, of just being a bit like almost like a woman who takes charge in such a way like Yennefer does is so unbelievably attractive, because she's just like,
I find it attractive.
You're coming with me.
In females also,
yeah,
but
exactly, yeah, of course. But it's just like, I think like stereotypically males are the like the I don't know, the person who would make the decision or be in charge, especially in fiction and stuff like that a lot of the time. But like the way that Yennefer is just so like I would say that, if you look at it as like top or bottom, I would say that Geralt would be the top in him and Triss's relationship, but Yennefer's definitely the top of him and Yennefer's relationship, So like that for me was just like so strange, because I felt like with Triss everything was so like natural and lovely, and just like they felt like the interactions, because Geralt was still the same like cheeky old Geralt he normally is, and you can do all the dialogue options and stuff like that. And obviously when she falls into your arms and stuff, that was the only moment in video games I've actually felt my heart completely sink and stuff, and I fell in love with someone. Like I never felt like that with Yennefer at all, as I very poorly swip between the two of them here in my mind. But like the fact that Yennefer came in and was just so straight to the point, and so like, and just the game takes you on that route of like, right, just follow Yennefer. Shit, she's such a whirlwind of craziness, and like, I don't care, I'm Yennefer, I do what I want. And like, I know that like in the same way that like you were saying with Ulfric and stuff, like he's a like, there's a lot to not like about Yennefer. There's a lot to not like about her character, but fucking hell, is there just something about her? There's just something about the fact that she's just like, I'm just like, oh my god, Yennefer, just tell me what to do. I'll just follow you. I'll just do whatever you want me to do, because you're just like, you're going to do it anyway, aren't you, or whatever. And you can flirt with her, like you do the little thing where you flirt with her at the funeral to begin with. And she's like, oh, Geralt, it's a funeral and stuff, and like, it's all just a bit like, oh, and then like as that progressed with the horse, and then you go on to like see the thing with the djinn and everything, and it's just like, I sat there and I was so committed to Triss in my mind, but she had hit me with this whirlwind of just power. Like, she is a powerful lady, like a powerful character, and she is just like effortlessly sexy as well. Like, so she's just like so alluring, and like I just was sat on the thing, but it like went below like the physical attraction, all that kind of stuff, and like suddenly during the djinn level and stuff, and during the whole time with her finding Ciri and everything, that like you notice that she has a very hardened exterior, but really deep down she's actually like really caring and loving and stuff, and she really loves Geralt deep down, she really loves Ciri deep down, and all these different things, sees her as a daughter and all this kind of stuff. Although she does walk a fine line of, does she want to harness Ciri? I'm not sure. And I think that could be debated, but yeah, I there is, to me, that kind of like, I feel like actually deep down Yennefer is a loving and caring person or whatever, or a part of her is maybe.
Yeah.
And like that was where I was just like, oh, in that kind of way of like, oh, I want to be there for that part of Yennefer and stuff, and I want to like love her and care for her and show her that like, as powerful as she is and everything, that actually, I do love her and all this kind of stuff, which was like crazy whirlwind for me, for her to pull me away from Triss, who would be so much more my kind of in real life, like you say, you're making decisions for Geralt, where like in real life, I would certainly want to be with Triss, and Triss would be perfect for me because she's like attentive and loving and caring and like all these different things that make Triss so great. And she's cute, and she like in her band and her banter with like Geralt is really lovely and stuff like that. But she's also very powerful, and she's also very like fiery and stuff like that. Not to excuse the pun with her, making balls of fire out of her hands, but like I think that with Yennefer, it was just so like such a whirlwind of difference to me. But then as Geralt, when I was sat up on top of the thing, it wasn't like a personal decision of me being like, oh, I now love Yennefer so much, I want to go with her as well. After romancing Triss, of course, that I was like, oh, I think Geralt genuinely loves her. I think now the Jinn's gone, that Geralt has done all this stuff where he went to the Wild Hunt for her, he sacrificed his life for her and all these different things that he's done, that like shit, Geralt has like lost all his memory and he's come back and he's found his way, despite losing his memory, all the way back to Yennefer again, and that she is the one for Geralt or whatever. She is that person.
Yeah.
And then that infected via Geralt me in real life and made me feel that she was someone that I could fall in love with in real life as well. But like I say, because Witch is so well written and because I care about Geralt so much as a character, that when things affect him, they like naturally like sort of broke the fourth wall and affected me in those ways. But yeah, that those two characters for sure, just I could talk about for hours. But yeah, that's the general reasons why I fell in love with the two of them as well. But Triss, for sure, I have to just stop off and say, and I probably have said this on plenty of podcasts, and I probably will say it in the future as well, it's one of my trope stories, but that moment that Triss falls into your arms and you're drunk and you have that split second to make that decision, I was sat alone in my front room and I had my headphones on and this rush of actual like and I at that point as well, I'd been in a relationship for a long time and stuff, and I like it just like hadn't had that feeling of like, oh, it's a brand new like, oh, someone's kissed me. It was like that, and I just like had this like feeling through my chest of like, oh yeah, I'll kiss her. I was like, oh, let's be crazy. It's like the way it felt was like weird,
Yeah, but that's the beauty of video games and being interactive and how to tell the stories.
I hope I can fade that right, but like that's I
think you did.
That's my feelings about Triss and Yennefer, and it's just such a...
I feel that though, because I almost put Triss down on my list, but I haven't actually romanced Triss yet. So I was like, look, I'm going to hold out because I actually personally love Triss as a character and I would fancy Triss as a character.
Yep.
But I chose Yennefer because I thought that was the best thing for Geralt. And look, I totally agree. I was like, Yennefer is hot, Yennefer is sexy, and I was like, I fancy Yennefer, but not to the degree. Like, I would choose Yennefer for Geralt, but I would choose Triss as my own girlfriend if I was to
definitely
choose.
And I think this is like, this is, I wrote in the title romantic or attachment love, and this is what I mean, is that somehow although like I say, like there's a lot to like physically about Yennefer or whatever, that she actually made me feel attached to her via that stuff as well, and going through and reanimating that body and all the crazy things that they went through and stuff together. But the thing with Triss that specifically, I think more so than Yennefer for me, and this is where we're talking about ourselves, aren't we? Where like I think again for Geralt and his love, like Yennefer was more so for me, but Triss for sure, like just in the way that you interact with her and how like genuinely grateful she seems to be for Geralt's love, and that she genuinely loves and cares about him, and you almost have to work your way back into her heart in Witcher 3, but like she just genuinely seems to just really enjoy Geralt and his presence and stuff, and it's just cute as well, and that made me fall in love with her in real life.
I'm excited to, when I play my second playthrough, I'm definitely going to choose Triss, because I just chose Yennefer because I thought that was the right thing to do, not because it was my personal choice. So I'm excited to see how it goes the second time when I choose Triss.
On to the next one.
My one. You got to buckle yourself up for. Because...
Okay, buckled.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So... this game isn't even out yet. It's in early access, but I have chosen Astarion from Baldur's Gate 3.
Okay.
So anyone who probably has seen my Instagram has seen me post pictures of this beautiful, beautiful vampiric man. So I don't have a PC, so I haven't even played the early access game. I haven't even played this game, and I've fallen in love with this character so much. But anyone who has played this game and has romanced this character resonates with me. It's just a thing. So basically, Also, I'm just going to point out, this game is probably going to be my favorite game of all time when it comes out.
Do you think?
I just think this game, I've watched the early access, and I was so obsessed with following every single move after I saw a gameplay of it. I watched someone play full through the first patch, which was so buggy, and it was so amazing though. So it's based off Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
So basically and I think this is why I end up falling in love with this character so much as I do, is because every single choice you make, you can literally make so many different choices, and you can really shape your relationship with characters.
Yep.
Because it's all about the dice rolling mechanic, and with Dungeons and Dragons, you really make what you can of a story. But yes, Astarion is a vampire who is one of your companions, and you can play as kind of too, but you have your main player character, and you have other companions too, which I also have a very deep connection with. Mm-hmm. But this specific character, I have never felt such feelings for, especially as an adult, because this game only came out in the last year in early access, and I was literally it's the first time I reinstalled my Tumblr. Who am I? Yeah, I reinstalled my Tumblr just to get like Astarion content. I started reading fan fictions about this dude. I was like, who am I? Kayleigh is 14 years old again.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to even start off where to begin. So for one, his voice is the potential sexiest voice I've ever heard in my whole entire life in a video game. And I started following the voice actor and everything. And I was just like...
Okay.
The voice actor, his normal voice isn't even that sexy. But
it's just he puts on a voice for it.
Yeah, he puts on this really like posh, like aristocratic voice for this character. So he's supposed to be this really posh vampire who escapes his master.
Okay.
Loads of trauma, loads of PTSD involved. And you're like, oh dear, this dude is probably going to stab me while I sleep. He's really super dangerous. He's like...
Is that a part of like how alluring he is?
Yes.
Well? Yeah.
I think everything to do with it was alluring. I'm just like, oh, this is fantastic. But yeah, basically it's like you start off like literally he has a knife to your throat, and you're just like, oh, this guy, I need to kill him. Like he's just an asshole. He's just you're gonna end up having to kill him. But you end up, he's really flirty. Like he's really flirty.
Right, yeah.
He's flirty with everyone though, and that's just his character. He's just like always like calling you darling and all these little things, and he's really sassy, and he is canon bisexual.
Okay.
As are all the companions all the companions end up being bisexual because you can romance them whether you are
of
male
course.
or female.
Yeah.
But you can tell that this guy is genuinely bisexual. But yeah, he's basically like, he starts off being like a real asshole to you and stuff like that. And he's like, leave me alone. And you don't know he's a vampire at first either. And it's just ridiculous because and I think he's really dorky in certain ways where you're kind of like, how do you not know he's a vampire? Because he's really obvious about it. Like you find a boar on the road with teeth marks in it. And it's like, oh my God, he's drained dry. And he's like, to know how that happened. And you're just like, But he's just really sassy. He is that bad guy that you're like, I shouldn't love him.
Yeah.
I really, really shouldn't love him. He's going to stab me in the back at any point.
Or hurt you or whatever, but it's just that.
Yes, but they do such the character development in this game is just unreal. Like you really end up like getting really like involved in their lives and stuff. So as you travel along with them and more nights pass and you camp and stuff, you are able to learn more about them. They unveil more of their life to you. And he explains that he had this master that, basically tortured him and did loads of horrible stuff to him and made him do loads of horrible stuff to people because vampire spawns are controlled by their master, whether they like it or not. Like it's like a telepathic like force you to do whatever they say. Yeah. So he starts unveiling all the stuff, and over time he becomes quite vulnerable with you, and you're like, oh, he's becoming quite vulnerable with me, and no one else
behind that exterior kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And you realize he acts the way he does because he's been traumatized. Basically, he has a lot, and like I've read a lot of stuff, and they basically portray trauma in a really, really like realistic sort of way. Yeah. But then it's also very dangerous to romance someone who's been through some trauma like that. Like,
Yeah, sure.
especially, but it comes back to like, oh, you want to be able to be there for someone and change a person, that type of thing. So the level of intimacy you can get with these characters also helps with the love I think you can develop with them, because obviously you can flirt with them, you can choose to flirt with them, you can choose to sleep with them.
Okay.
The sex scenes and stuff are even quite detailed.
Oh, they?
And not even just from a like it's hot point of view, it's just it creates this real like proper intimacy with a character that you're like, which I think helps. But yeah, they because it's only in early access, you don't know how far you can go with this character. But what they have done so far, I'm like completely like head over heels for this character. It's insane. And you know, like deep down, you know that something bad is going to happen. Like you just know that he's going to either turn on you, something bad is going to happen between him and maybe his old master or something. But you really want to be there and you're trying to support him and he's opening up to you. And it's that proper, like, you know, this connection developing. And he's just really, he's just really flirty. And it's just like, he's just hot. He's just really hot.
Yeah. So you think like physically he's hot and his voice, obviously everything.
His voice is probably hotter than his character is.
Yeah.
The voice is what got me from the start. I was like, oh my God. Talk to me. This is so bad. There's a 5-hour like YouTube video of all his dialogue. And I stuck it on the background of my YouTube one day and I was like, oh, it's so good.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, I sound desperate. But I'm telling you, anyone who has played this game and romanced him, there are just so many people that are in love with this character.
Yeah.
For good reason. And I don't think I can even potentially portray how much of a connection you can develop with these characters. Like I would really actually, you know, encourage people to go have a look at some of the gameplay of Baldur's Gate 3. It looks amazing. It's going to be
for it for sure.
It's such an amazing game. And anyone who's played a Divinity Original Sin 2, it's by the same company and it's kind of a very similar play style. But if you want something extremely interactive that you basically create the story to, like Dungeons and Dragons, you're going to love this.
Yeah, cool.
So I'm going to stop now because I could go on forever.
That's cool though.
Yeah.
And there's a distinct difference as well in your portrayal of what this character is in regards to, you can see that it's more vivid in yourself and as we speak, you know, rather than others it's more like, oh, I feel this way, but it's not necessarily. This is like concrete. You can tell that, you know, there is just something particularly about that character that is incredibly alluring.
They really make you like, it's so interactive that you don't think, oh, this is just my player character. You're like, this is me.
Yeah, sure.
This is me feeling
real like role playing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Which, of course, if it's backed off of
Dungeons and Dragons,
it makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, sure. That's cool though. It's really nice to get that. Like, and of course, I know that you're holding yourself back a bit, but again, this is the conversation to let those things out. You know what I mean? Like, this is the conversation to really.
Yeah, if I let go anymore, I'm gonna become a proper simp that'll just be like, what? And then people will be like, she's a weirdo.
But at the same time, you know, that's why I like to have these conversations, because you're going to resonate with someone who's going to be like, shit, yeah, I totally feel that way as well. You know,
I told people, I was like, I've literally looked up fan fiction about this because it's in early. I think as well because it's in early access, you only have a certain amount of content.
Yeah.
So obviously it's like you're not able to play more or watch more of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have this void that needs to be filled. So I was like literally just looking up fan fiction. And I was like, yeah, I feel 14 again. It's great. It was great. It's a great feeling though, in a sense, because sometimes I think when you're older, you lose that sense of like, you know, when even if you find a new band that you love and you're like, oh, I want to listen to every single thing that they put out, but I haven't felt that way about certain things in a long time, and this is the first time I've really felt like a teenager again, where it's like I really almost obsessively, which I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but almost obsessively really want to understand everything about it, and I want to read more, and I just want all the content that I can get.
Yeah,
so
it's cool though. It's dope.
Yeah.
But okay, cool. My next one is, and my last one, of course, on my list is Nathan Drake from Uncharted.
Ooh.
So again, the primary.
I just know he has really strong fingers. That's all I know.
Yes, unbelievably strong fingers. So
Yeah.
the strongest fingers you ever seen in your life. You hang off anything, but there is something specifically. I think, of course, number one, it's his voice. So he's extremely well voice acted by Nolan North, and there is just something about Nathan Drake that makes him. He's a cheeky chappy. A real proper cheeky chappy who just says funny things. He's very sarcastic. He's very tongue-in-cheek all the time. But he's also, like, really emotionally deep. And there's so much that, like, fuels him emotionally. Like, he had a real tough upbringing, a real tough childhood, especially in the fourth one. You find out about how him and his brother grew up, and that they grew up in an orphanage and all these different things. And it's just like, it's really like heart-wrenching. And you see that he falls in love with Elena through the storyline and all this kind of stuff. And that he's always torn between this adrenaline junkie sense of adventure, can never let that fire die down in him for wanting to go and jump off something crazy and just, like, you know, go and find what's the biggest and best treasure you could possibly find. Like, but at the same time, he's also wanting to, like, settle down with Elena, and, like, especially the fourth game really, like, takes you through difficult venues of his character, difficult like places. Like, there's a really, really infamous bit where he's at the top of his house and he's in an attic and he's got all of his memorabilia up and stuff, and all of the adventures he's been on in the past previous games, the past 3 games, and he's just, like, sat there on his computer or doing something, and then he, like, picks up this little toy gun and goes, like, whoa, and it's, like, a really clever way to get you to do a shooting tutorial again. But it's actually, like, him, like, hiding behind and shooting these, like, plastic bullets and things and going, like, whoa, these guys are doing this. And then, like, he, like, falls over or something, and Elena's like, you all right up there? And he's like, yeah, fine. And then, like, you can tell that, like, and you can go round his room, and, like, the fourth one, because it's, like, it finalizes the quartet or whatever it is of the because it's not a trilogy, it's a whatever that would be, quartet, is it? Like, it's the final one, and it really takes you through the memories that you've been through with him as a player. And, like, he opens up and he, like, flips over a little book and he does his little classic, just, like, insatiable Nathan Drakeness, where it's like, you know, he just like says something cheeky about the thing, like, oh shit, I remember that guy or whatever, and it's like, you know, his little coin or something that you can find, and, like, they have this little mechanic where you can, like, move it around and stuff and, like, check it out. But, like, it's how he interacts with different people and different characters, and, like, even in the moments where he is, like, not trying to be attractive or something like that, like, I still just seem to find him, like, totally just, like, I'm just like, oh, you're such a fucking legend. Like, he fights Nadine in the fourth one, who's like a really strong female character who's, like, just, like, beats the living shit out of him. And even just the way he, like, engages in the argument with her, he's like, whoa, you know, like, I don't hit girls, bang, she whacks him in the face, and he's like, oh, like, he's like, all right, love, take it easy, and then she just whacks the shit out of him again, and he's like, oh, all right, and, like, just, like, genuinely just can't, like, help himself but be this cheeky chappy, like, all the time. And, like, even when he's, like, in the most dangerous of dangerous situations, he always seems to put this, like, little, like, whoa, fucking hell, that was close, you know, like, that kind of thing, you know, like, even though they just literally nearly died, like, that kind of thing all the time. But his, like, later on, it's like, as the fourth one progresses, specifically, there's lots to love about him. You can see the conflict in him, and there's so much, so you're just like, oh, you blatantly love Elena so much, but you just can't help but love the adventure. And there's this amazing bit where he's, like, sat on the sofa with her, and he looks up at this, like, photo, and they play the most beautiful music, and there's just, like, Uncharted has this amazing kind of, like, tribal music that they use, and he, like, looks into the photo and he starts to lose himself, and it starts to play the old music again, and you're like, oh, like, he's thinking about adventure. And then she goes, are you even listening to me? And he's just like, oh, yeah, like, whatever. And then, like, is like, he's such, like, he's so cheeky, and he's so, like, his voice, but he's just genuinely good looking as well. So he's just, like, a really strapping looking, like, sort of tall, dark, handsome kind of guy as well, which also helps, of course. But, like, and he's also just, there's just something about him that you just can't help but like. And even if, like, you're not someone who particularly fell in love with romantically or whatever, but just, you know, you just like him. You're just like, oh, he's such a geese, and he's such, like, the way that Nolan North delivers his character is, like, he gives him this depth. He gives him this, like, he's able to switch between, like, deep emotion and, like, cheeky surface level stuff at all times. But you can also tell that that's, like, there's, and there's something that's really nice between him and Sully that like you know, like when someone's the absolute closest friend of yours and you can really like take the piss out of each other about anything kind of thing, and that's the kind of level that they're at. But just in general, it's just like he's so like he gets dressed up in his tux and was one point, and I was like, oh fucking hell, like you just there's these times where you're like, oh, like Drake, you're usually all like what is it? You're usually so
adventure wear and stuff.
Yeah, he's all like rugged and dirty and like whatever, and then like seeing him all dressed up smart, it's like, oh, you're fucking cute all dressed up smart or whatever. But like he's just in general, he's just such a fucking fantastic character, and he's so like likable, and I think that's it. At the end of the day, it's just I think everyone likes a joker or a cheeky chappy or someone who takes the piss out of people and all that kind of stuff and makes you laugh. And I think that's something that, you know, that's why it crossed that line for me in my mind in that way, you know. And I can't wait for you to see him and experience him.
Yeah, I've never played Uncharted.
I really think you're going to love him, especially come like the fourth game, which is specific.
I would be very curious to do another one of these in like maybe a year's time after we've played other games to see if, because like a few people have said to me, they're like, oh, wait till you play Blood and Wine. There's going to be a character in that you're just going to fall in love with. And I was like, okay, cool. But I think, this maybe is something we can revisit at some point.
For sure.
I think this is a list that can either stay the same.
Yep.
I think there will be definitely always concrete characters that stay the same, but I think you can always add on people to it.
Yeah, no,
that's real. Like, who doesn't fall in love with characters?
No, exactly, and it's a fascinating conversation and discussion to have, and I think that like you know, just to sort of you haven't got another one to go now. No, so just to sort of round it up is that, you know, if there's anyone listening, we're all humans and we're all like we all can't help at times to feel to feel attracted to certain things or to feel like a feeling towards things. And when something's told you in such a way, albeit via film or video games or anything else, that, you know, like don't feel like you're a weird person for Googling a fan fiction about them or Googling a list about them or whatever, do you know what I mean? Or just even just looking at a photo of them and thinking, God, you know, like they're so good looking or whatever, because, you know, they are so well written and they are like built out of real things or whatever. So there's nothing to stop you from you know being able to feel that way. But for sure, it's just such a fascinating and interesting conversation. And like you say, it's one thing that I really particularly like that you mentioned is that like I think at that time in my life as well with Triss and stuff that like it had been so long since I felt that feeling that sometimes these like as you are older and stuff, it's quite cool to be able to feel falling in love again or feel that like flirtiness again if you're in a relationship and all this kind of stuff. It's just really interesting that games can also not only offer you an escape in being like, oh, I can blow stuff up or I can escape into someone else's story, but you can actually escape into feeling those feelings again, like you say, like feeling like a kid again or whatever it might be. Yeah, you know, like you can feel like a kid again and play something that's like a nostalgic game for you, like a Sonic, like you said earlier on, but or whatever. But yes, okay, cool. That is our first ever top 5, and I think that was really, really great.
Yeah, I loved it. I love being able to be a simple, but it's great.
Yeah, 100%. So what we'll do is we'll move on now to Rise Randoms.
Yeah.
And this time I've got Would I Lie to You? No, it's not Rise Randoms because that's on Partner Up. It is Ry Vs Gingernut. So, what's the current score? 2-1 to you.
I'm winning. Yeah,
something like that. So. What we're going to do is we might have to stop the score soon because if Kayleigh goes any more than 3-1 ahead, we'll just stop. We'll cut. No. Stop the count. Stop the count.
Look, it's not my fault. I'm better than you.
So what we'll do is we've got Would I Lie to You? I have written 7 scenarios, and some of them are true, some of them aren't. And you have to basically, and this is the rules: is that I will read a statement. And after I've read that statement, you can question me, or you can just, you know, if it's instant, you can just instantly guess. But you have, as a contestant, you're allowed to guess what it is. So you can say, where were you? What did you do? How was this? You know, when was this? Whatever. That may help you to discern whether I'm lying or not. And you can go as deep as you like, and then you must come to a decision and decide whether I'm lying or not. And we'll do best of whatever it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what would that be? Best of first to 4, wouldn't it? So if you get wrong, then I would say, and if you get right, I'll say, you know. And then if you get wrong, I get the point. If you get right, you get the point, you know.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
First one is, I once completed. Oh no, wait. I once completed a game on hard difficulty.
What game?
Half-Life 2.
And what difficulty?
Hard.
Doesn't sound like you at all, does it? When?
So it was on the original Xbox, so I was younger. Because, like I said, I didn't have the PlayStation 3 until I was like in year 11 or 10 at school, or like when I was like 15, 16. But when I was like younger, so this would have been like 13, something like that. So however many years ago that was.
So you were 13 and beat Half-Life 2.
Yeah, so Half-Life 2 I completed on the Xbox, on the original Xbox, because it was a big PC game at the time, and I remember playing it at Bushhands on his PC, but I played it on my original Xbox because you could buy it for that, which was amazing.
I'm going to say it's a lie.
Okay. That is a lie. So it's 1-0 to you. Second.
Yeah. Okay.
I have played Witcher a 4th time, but I'm ashamed to admit it because I romanced both Triss and Yennefer again. When?
Yeah.
So you're looking at 3 years ago, probably. It was because I completed it when it first came out. I completed it all the way through, and then Blood and Wine came out, and I completed it all the way through with that. And then I played it for the second time, and then I played it for the third time, and then I didn't complete it the third time though because my hard drive broke, and then I played it for the 4th time. But I only played the main story.
That's a lie.
You going with a lie?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it is a lie.
Yeah, because that wouldn't make sense. Because that would just be torture. That would just be self-torture, wouldn't it?
What, to put myself through romancing both of them again?
Yeah.
Maybe I can't help myself. Number 3.
Oh.
Number 3.
That's what you're into.
I played Sea of Thieves once and befriended a Swiss guy only to sink his ship and steal all his gold.
I think it's true.
No questions?
No.
It is a lie, so that's 2-1 to me.
Hi. I thought I heard this story before. That's the only reason I said true.
Well, you have to pry a little bit more. Number 4. Number 4. So it's 2-1 to you. Number 4. I once got so mad at my friend for beating me on FIFA that I didn't talk to him for 4 hours on his birthday.
The thing is, I can believe this. Which friend? Are you allowed to say?
It was Stuart.
I can well believe this, to be honest. What birthday was it? Like, what age was he?
21.
This is either means you're a terrible friend or you're lying. So, yeah. And this is the sad thing is I still believe it could be true. So you're saying at 21 years of age, he beat you at FIFA, so you didn't talk to him for 4 hours on his birthday.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm thrown because you weren't sure what birthday it was, but I just, as you as a person, I feel like it's true.
Right.
I'm gonna go with it's true.
Okay. It is true. You're right. It is true. 3-1. 3-1. Okay. Well played, though.
So that story is actually as bizarre. Okay.
What? You want me to tell the real story? You want me to tell the real story or what?
I'm like, you were a 21st birthday party. You didn't speak to your friend for 4 hours because
I can't remember what birthday it was, but I was just trying to make that sound like a lie. I basically we were in my front room, and he was living with me at the time, and it was his actual birthday, and he just whooped me on FIFA, and I was in far more of a emotionally irrational state than I am now. And I literally was so fuming as well because he was just such a cocky little bastard.
You're saying far more than of an emotional state, and yet I still, to this day, I didn't know you back then, and I still believe that was you.
Okay,
so.
all right, yeah, I'm competitive, all right, I'm competitive. So, but he was a little bastard, and he was so cocky, and he just beat me, and I was just like,
hold on, Kettle Pot Black here.
I'm never cocky.
You're fucking always cocky. Stop that. Pardon?
Okay. Number 5.
Right. Keep going.
I spoke to him after the 4 hours. It was all good. And I apologise.
No, that's not acceptable behaviour.
Stu, I'm sorry, mate. If you're watching or listening to this, then I'm sorry for that time that you we fell out on your actual birthday because you beat me at FIFA. And I have grown. Okay.
Not in height, but...
Wow! Just... twist the knife in. Okay.
Sorry.
Number 5. Not in height. That was just so necessary. Number 5. I played Silent Hill at 11 years old.
I don't know what to ask about that, because that's very much just a yes or no question, really. Can you give me any more details? I don't know what to ask.
Well... So, Silent Hill's a psychological...
I know what Silent Hill is. I don't know what else to ask you, though. To figure out if it's a truth or a lie. Did you play it alone?
No.
No.
I played it with Busha.
I'm going to say true.
It is true. You're right. So, You have beat me 4-1. Would you like to do the last 2?
Go on.
Okay. Number 6 is I have completed Oblivion. I have never completed Oblivion and have only fully completed 2 quest lines.
What were the quest lines?
They were the Dark Brotherhood.
Yeah.
And the arena.
I think that's a lie.
It's true. Yeah, it's true.
Okay, we're going to have some serious words here, because what is wrong with you?
So, I was only young. Again, like when I told you I only played Witcher.
Okay, but you're what? You're 26 years of age, and you've only done 2 quest lines of Oblivion.
I played a lot of Oblivion.
I said earlier in this podcast that you were an Elder Scrolls fan.
I am.
No. No?
Have you completed Oblivion?
I've nearly completed Oblivion.
So there we are. Then let's dial that back.
No, what happened was I have a good excuse, because I got to nearly the last quest of Oblivion, and then I moved house and didn't have a TV, so I couldn't boot up my Xbox. So then what I did was I watched a playthrough of the last quest.
Yeah.
So in my head, I have Oblivion.
I watched Matty complete Oblivion, so I've watched the story of Oblivion being played through. And I've watched the ending sentence, but I've only actually ever fully the ending of the movie. Sorry, that I've only fucking game.
What's wrong with you?
It's late at night. It's like 11:15. So so I've seen it played through. I was just too young at the time. Like I said with Skyrim earlier on, like I was too young to really like delve myself into anything storyline based, and I really struggled until I was about 14, 15, or it might have even been 15, 16 when I first played The Last of Us, that I ever actually went into storyline games. Before that, I was just like heftily, like I played Call of Duty. I'd love playing Oblivion, but I'd just be far more interested in running around and just fart-assing about and fighting things and running up to Oblivion gates and fighting whatever like imps ran out of it and stuff like that than I would to play anything else. But I remember really getting into the Dark Brotherhood storyline and really wanted to play that because I loved the thought of being like an assassin and stuff, especially when I was at that age. And I loved the arena because I loved the arena, reminded me of Knights of the Republic, and Knights of the Republic had arena mode and it was great. But like I really liked playing that. But yeah. And then ever since, just haven't had the opportunity to go back to it. And I tried going back to Oblivion not too long ago, and it's just...
It is hard to go back to.
It's
it
so
is very
unbelievably
hard to
dated. Like in comparison to Skyrim.
It is. But because I played Skyrim first, and it took me 2 tries to go and play Oblivion because I found it really difficult to go back. Obviously, the mechanics are harder. It's a harder game in general, but you have to play.
Yeah, I will. I will get there at some point. Yeah, but
that's not a request. That's but there's no question about that. You just have to do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I regret, to anyone who got this far, I regret saying that we were Elder Scrolls fans because I'm an Elder Scrolls fan. He is not.
This is brutal. Okay, number 7. I'm definitely an Elder Scrolls fan. Number 7. I got the Oblivion map up on my wall right here.
That's blowing my mind, and I think that's why I knew you had an Oblivion map on your. I just move on. Just go.
Okay, number 7. I have started my own playthrough of Ghost of Tsushima. And have been playing it for about 20 hours.
Hold on a minute. No, that's false. You wouldn't do that.
Okay.
Because so for context to other people, me and him are playing it together. So if he started his own playthrough, I'm going to be very, very angry.
What are you going with?
It's not true.
Okay, it is a lie. You're right. It is a lie.
Oh my god.
I can do that. I'm too nice a guy for any of this kind of stuff.
You were about to figure out a lot of stuff about you as a person in this podcast.
Okay, cool.
The next one flew over the side quest was just me alone because I murdered him.
Right, anyway, fantastic podcast, and it's been really, really fun recording. And thank you to anybody that's made it all the way through to the end and seen all the revelations. But really fascinating topic, and we'll be back not next week, but the week after, or maybe the week after that. Whenever we're back at some point with another amazing gaming top 5, and I can't wait for it. But thank you so much for coming along, Kayleigh, as well. You've been very, very good.
Thank you.
If not, slightly.
What are you about to say? Don't get cheeky. Don't. I can see it in your face.
Okay. Well, anyway.
Just thank me and leave.
We'll catch you next time. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you again for listening to another Pixie Gaming podcast, whichever one it was you chose to listen to today. We are Pixie Podcast on Twitter, Pixie Podcast on Instagram, Pixie Gaming Podcast on Facebook, and Pixie Gaming Podcast on YouTube. And our website is www.pixiepodcast.co.uk. Thank you so much for listening. You're all a bunch of legends. And here's a little outro music, so enjoy. Thank you again for listening to another Pixie Gaming podcast, whichever one it was you chose to listen to today. We are Pixie Podcast on Twitter, Pixie Podcast on Instagram, Pixie Gaming Podcast on Facebook, and Pixie Gaming Podcast on YouTube. And our website is www.pixiepodcast.co.uk. Thank you so much for listening. You're all a bunch of legends. And here's a little outro music, so enjoy.